I've been trying to explain something I figured out with health for a while, and I'm having a hard time putting animations together, and I'm sprinkling little bits of it here and there, but it's not really getting through. I don't know. I think I'm like it's too much for most people and not enough for people that need science to move forward with this stuff, but I'm going to do my best to just talk to the camera and explain this, and I I guess it's probably going to go over most people's heads again. So, something that's really important that a lot of people are missing is that we're trillions of cells. And when we have toxins in our system that are inhibiting our system, which is what we're figuring out toxins are doing, that means it's going into cells and inhibiting them, which means a large percentage of our trillions of cells are completely inundated by toxins, or maybe not completely, but they're inhibited or is sitting in like purgatory. And this concept is where detox gets like really fuzzy, because if we don't realize the fact that we've got this stuff tucked away that we can't really see or feel, so to speak, we can just ignore it, support the outside layer, which is what gets us back on our feet, and we assume everything's fine, and then months, years later, or stress or whatever it is, we just go back into not feeling well at some point. A lot of people think they're better, but they don't know what better is. We don't feel better until we feel it. I drank a lot of beer my whole life, and there's been times that I stopped drinking for a little while, and I'm like, holy crap, that makes me feel like garbage all the time. I eventually make my way back into it because, world's stressful or whatever it is that causes us to do these things. But like, until I actually felt the lack of drinking beer every day, I didn't know what I felt like. And we don't know what feeling good is until we get there. And if we don't get there, we don't know what it feels like. So when we ignore the toxins that are backed up, we think that we just need to like sprinkle some nutrients on the outside and get things like supported. But that's like a very small part of the problem. And people are starting to see, okay, well, in order to get B12 to work, there's some other things involved. Like, let's focus on on like stomach acid and get protein digested and activated with magnesium so it can go do its SAMe stuff, and then come back to where B12 is even used. So, like, some people are injecting B12 without even focusing on stomach acid, H. pylori, magnesium levels. Everybody's eating like one form of magnesium. I try to be like, hey guys, I've made this work. Here's one that has more forms, and nobody cares. Or like, I use this one that has one, and I'm like, I don't care. Thought you guys were asking to anyway. So B12 is like a part of the system. It's almost like, imagine if a bicycle was completely broken and rusted, and we're like, the chain doesn't work. It's like, well, yeah, obviously the whole entire bike's broken. You can't make the pedals move. The chain's frozen when the whole entire bike's shot. And like, that's what we're ignoring. We're like, well, we just need to inject some more B12. I heard that one's good. Like, that's part of methylation or something. And the same thing is going on with MTHFR. People are like, I have MTHFR. My doctor told me to take methyls. It makes me feel like garbage, but what do I do now if I can't handle methyls? And we're completely looking at it the wrong way. If methyls don't work, then obviously that's the wrong part of the machine we're focusing on, but people aren't being, nobody's explaining it this way, so we're getting lost. So, okay, so people are realizing now there's like all these different nutrients that help support this, but we're like still just poking and prodding at these different things when we forget about the fact that there's toxins tucked far away in a lot of our cells. Like, it's as if we had a fleet of delivery vehicles, and we have all this corruption in our company. So instead of maintaining them all properly, we're just taking pieces and parts from all of them to keep a little bit of the fleet running. So now we've got 75% of our fleet is sitting in a field somewhere with the tires stripped off of them because we haven't purchased any tires, and we're just stealing from ourselves for the most part. If we go, oh, to get our business running again, we just need to buy some tires, and we sprinkle 35 tires on the trucks that are already running on the road, that doesn't get us anywhere. We still have 75% of the fleet sitting there not able to be used. And if we don't understand the lack of our abilities by that fleet sitting there rotting, then we're just missing the whole point, which is what's going on with health. So when I started getting into this, I actually made my health much, much worse. Like, if I kept going in the condition I was in before I pushed into detox, like, I would have been okay. I wasn't as good as I am now, but like, I would have been able to get by. But then I pushed into detox and I freaking dropped myself to the floor because nobody has any clue what's going on. And they're like, take 100 milligrams of this one and take 100 milligrams of that one. Not that I even fell for that. I knew that that was the wrong idea, but at some point I got lost and I had to try one of them because when you don't know what to do and everybody's saying you just need to take more of it, you can't sit there and be like, oh, well, I probably know what I'm doing, so I should not listen to them. And there's so many people talking about this stuff. It's kind of insane by now. But the reason these mega doses are doing something is because if you've got like 10 people pestering you for something and it's you're past your ability to get what they're asking for done, and one of them comes along and just nonstop pesters you for like literally 15 minutes, is in your ear pestering you to the point that you snap almost, you're going to take care of whatever they want to get them out of your hair. And that's what our metabolism is doing with megadose. I'm not even going to point to one specifically, but when we put a ton of something into our system, our body is like, I don't want to use that. I don't have the resources available to use that, which is why it hasn't been working in the first place. I was trying to tell you. And now you've dumped so much of it on here. Now you've added a toxicity to the system. And I'm looking at things and I go, you know what? If I go ahead and I process this with the limited resources that I had available that I was saving for something else, I'm going to be in better shape than if I just let whatever you're dumping in here sit around and cause more damage. So we're actually poisoning ourselves with nutrients that's forcing the system to run in a different way that it doesn't want to. It's the same thing as the whole vitamin D situation. Our body is like, bro, I don't have sunlight. I can't function properly. I pretty much am sunlight. I don't know if anybody realizes this, but I'm like dirt suspended by sunlight. And I'm going blah, blah, blah. I'm just dirt, though. And if we don't think about that, like, we're going to completely miss what's going on here. So if we're not getting sunlight because we're suspended dirt, which is pretty much what a plant is, and we sit there and dump some steroid hormone on there, our body's going to be like, okay, so we have sunlight now. I should go ahead and do the things that I do with sunlight. And then we're in even worse shape because our body was purposely telling itself, we don't have any sunlight around. That's why we're not making vitamin D. And then people go in the sun and still can't make vitamin D because they're not getting the nutrients that all of these cells are made out of to help support the system, to get the trillions of cells that are loaded with toxicity cleaned up so they can actually function. So here's the big problem with those toxins that are tucked away. When grandma started using doflactoblocaclin, whatever medication, and it's got some kind of crazy toxicity in it, she stacked up a line of metabolism with the toxicity. Toxins are a problem because they're going into our cells, and our cells are like, hey, you look like nutrient number 5. Come on over here. I need you. And it's not nutrient number 5. It's some kind of nefarious compound that doesn't work the right way. Our cells are tools that are made of the nutrients that we're eating. And then they're creating more cells with those nutrients that go and use other nutrients. When we jam toxins through there, it's inhibiting their ability to function. So now we've got these lines of cells that carry out certain functions, and they are inundated with the wrong thing. It's like trying to make a skyscraper out of not steel. It's not going to make a skyscraper. It can't function. So now grandma passes that to mom, and if mom continues doing a similar thing, because that's how we roll, if somebody takes a medication for a pain that they have and their child ends up getting the same pain or whatever, they usually go for the same medication or lifestyle or whatever it is. And then mom passes that down to us, and we've got this whole entire channel of metabolism locked up with some kind of toxin. And we don't feel it till it finally reaches that tipping point, that threshold. And we ignore the fact that the roots of the system are completely not functioning because they're loaded with a toxin. We sprinkle a little bit of stuff on top and somebody gets some energy going and we're like, woohoo, we did it. Ignoring the fact that the whole entire underlying foundation of the machine is busted. And we're running at like 25% or whatever it is that we are actually functioning at today before we hit our threshold and crash. So there's a lot more to this than just, hey, B12 is good. Hey, iodine is good. Hey, selenium's good. These things are all doing things, just like a business, a corporation, a global supply chain. We've got a completely busted global supply chain in our system. And we're over here going, well, Paraguay needs some fertilizer for raisins or something. I don't know. It's like complete nonsense. It's one person's over here doing one thing, one person's over there. They're conflicting with each other. People are reading about one, reading about the other, and going, well, this doesn't make any sense. This person says do this, and this person says do that. And if you look at it and you look at how the machine actually functions, it all starts making sense. So I'll just keep blabbing at this point if I keep going with this. I'm going to show you one thing. You can see that one back there. That's pretty much our mitochondria, a huge pathway of how that works. And then we got that one, which is like the fourth generation or something, which means 40 years of people that knew how the biomechanical things work together and stuff. We're ignoring how it works, and we're like poking and prodding one thing over here and over there. There's like a billion examples in the world of how this doesn't work. And the only way that we're going to get through this at this point in time is if we wrap our own head around this, no matter what level of understanding and brain fog and whatever we have. Because maybe I'm an intelligent dude, but I was in really rough shape when I started figuring this out. And I had absolutely no idea how nutrition worked. I read one book before this started. Literally, I read one book in my life before this started, which was It Starts with Food. And I just happened to come across that in like my late 20s, early 30s before my health crashed. And that's the only thing I knew about nutrition, was that food actually does something to how we feel. Like, there's people that have been doing this their whole entire lives that are getting stuck on really dumb little situations and ignoring 75% of the nutrients out there. Yeah, we don't want to sit here and eat chromium and lithium all day long, but we might really need a tiny bit of that stuff. And until we taste it, just like if we taste food and decide if we like it or not, we're going to have no clue. And people are getting scared with, I don't want to take that nutrient because I think it's dangerous. Well, don't get a new bottle and sit here and just chug the things until they're done. Like, literally taste them. Be like, that tastes really bad to me. And then if you take them and you get indigestion and you burp and it tastes real bad or something, you have a general idea that your body probably doesn't seem to metabolize whatever that is. But if we sit there and take a capsule or less than a capsule and see how we feel the next morning, we can gain a really good idea of what's going on without sitting here running a billion tests that don't really make any sense and trying like 2% of what we can actually try. There's about $4,000 worth of supplements in this room, and most of them are full because all I've done is tried them a little here and there. And then when I read something, I go, hey, I have symptoms related to that one. And I go try it and I'm like, hey, it's working for me. And I take 5 more of them and I don't notice anything. 3 months later, I might take one and go, hey, I noticed a little bit of that. It's actually like really simple in a way. It's just nobody's talking about this. And when somebody does, they look like a crazy person because I'm not going to sit here and dress up for this stuff. People either listen to this or not, and most people don't. So I'm going to go now. All right, thanks, bye.